Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Son of a Blitch podcast. I'm your host, George Blitch. And today I got to sit down and chat with Pete Muller, who is the communications director with the National Wild Turkey Federation, also known as NWTF. NWTF is really all about the conservation of wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage. They are a wonderful organization, been around for now 51 years, and they do stuff in all 49 states. There are turkeys, there are wonderful initiatives and projects going on state by state, and really improving the habitat on a whole. We talk a little bit about the history of the organization and some of the things that they've kind of, done over the years to really bring back the wild turkey population and the things that they're doing to sustain it for future growth and generations to enjoy. So, we really got to cover a lot about that. We talked a little bit about, Pete's personal journey into getting involved with NWTF. Some of the turkey hunts he's gone on, some of the things he likes to cook. Sounds like some amazing recipes he's got out there too. It was really hard to record this during a lunchtime hour because now I'm ready to go eat some wild turkey. And I'm sure you guys are too. And so, listen, I think it's very imperative that go over to nwtf.org and become a member. It's a $35 membership at minimum. You can do more if you like, but just that membership will get you alone a $25 Bass Pro gift card. And there's other swag throughout the year that you can get. So it's really a no-brainer. There are over 2 million turkey hunters, and there's about a 10% of that number that is involved with the NWTF. And I think those numbers need to be higher so they can do more. There's talk about the other organizations that they're involved with, government, state organizations that really kind of amplify the dollars that are put into these programs. There's some really great things that they have there. We talk a little bit about that too, but there's more that you can find out information wise in WTF. So we were really hoping that this would be a great introduction to their organization. And, we also talk about the convention that they do every year, which is a fan favorite. I think it's like almost 73,000 people attended this last year in February. Next one's coming up in Nashville. I think they said February 12th through the 16th are kind of around the main days of that. So you can already go ahead and book your room. So if you guys are interested in going and checking that out, you can look at the links through nwtf.org and learn more after joining there too. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Appreciate all your support. And without further ado, here is the podcast with Pete Muller talking about the National Wild Turkey Federation. You guys enjoy. Hey Pete, how you doing today, man?
I am doing well, doing well. It's a fun
Good.
time of the year.
It
Uh,
is. It is, man. I mean, the woods have been alive. Turkey season's wrapping up here. How was your turkey season so far?
it wasn't too bad. It started off by attending a South Carolina Jake's hunt of a lifetime and getting to video a young lady shooting her first turkey, and she learned some lessons on patience. But getting to film that and that was a neat way to start it. Did a few trips with folks, here, there, all over the place. The one thing though that I wanted to get done this year that I didn't get done is I tried to get my son on his first bird, and we just kind of ran out of time here in South Carolina. So next year, or he's now already eager for deer season to roll around.
Nice. Has he taken a deer before? Would that be his first one
He
there too?
That would be his first of that as well. We started last year on deer, and he towards the end of the season, I think he was a little bit burned out. He said maybe I should just start with something else like turkeys. They're a little bit smaller, But now he's like, well, since turkeys is gone, we'll go back to deer. So
Hey,
he's chomping at the bit, and I'm gonna feed that desire to be in the woods for him. So
nice.
whatever
How
we're
old is
chasing.
he?
He's 9 right now. By this fall, he'll be 10.
That's a good
So
age, man. That's great.
yeah,
That's
yep,
exciting. Well, let's talk about kind of, that the first of getting into hunting. Obviously, you got your kiddo there, but how did you kind of get involved in your love of the outdoors and kind of hunting? Where'd you grow up? Who are some of your mentors? How'd you get in that space? And then, we'll eventually kind of, thread that needle onto how you're
sure.
now working with, National Wild Turkey Federation and all the things you're doing there. So, if, yeah, you can just kind of give us listeners a little 101 background to your story and kind of go from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I grew up in a family that my dad hunted before all the kids were born. He did not do much hunting, trying to raise family and everything else like that. Occasionally he would go out, but primarily, being raised, we were shooting squirrels in the backyard with him, things like that. Um, funny story is I actually remember one time when we were visiting relatives in Virginia, my dad teaching his brother how to skin a squirrel out in the middle of downtown Richmond. I think I recall the cops getting called on him by a neighbor for shooting squirrels. Um, but it was I did Boy Scouts. I loved camping. I loved all that time out in the woods. We had a state park across the street from my house. My brother and I would go fishing there all the time. When I went to college in North Carolina, a lot of my buddies deer hunted, and so I ended up doing a little bit of it there. But it really took off. I mean, you know, tenfold when after college, just on a whim, I moved to Wyoming. And I mean, that's a sportsman's paradise. So I was chasing antelope, mule deer, elk, turkey, grouse, ducks, took up fly fishing. I mean, you name it, I was doing it. And so that, but there still was that camping, backpacking piece of me that just I've always had an affinity for the outdoors, and so that was exciting to really fully immerse myself when I lived out west, and I still try to live that today.
Nice. Well, then how did you eventually find yourself working in the capacity which you are now with the NWTF? What was that kind of move and shift, and how did you kind of get involved and meet the
Sure.
folks to get, where you are now with the, because you're doing public relations, right? Is that your official title?
Communications director might be
Communications.
the official title now,
Yep.
but honestly, over here at the NWTF, we all wear a lot of hats. We're all involved in a lot of different things. For me, I actually didn't even really get into turkey hunting until Wyoming, and so I love being out there in the Black Hills and chasing Miriams. And in fact,
Hmm.
that if you're a terrible caller like I sometimes feel like I am, that's the place to go to where I mean, you can get those birds talking with with some of the worst calling ever. Um, but getting my start in turkey hunting and also being somebody, I worked in a sporting goods store there, so I was involved with Mule Deer Foundation banquets, elk, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquets, the Turkey Federation banquet. In fact, we had Michael Waddell out there at one of our banquets back in I think it was 2007, 2008. So but it was in college I went to school for communications, public relations, journalism, and I've always worked in the nonprofit sector. In fact, before my time with NWTF, I was working in the medical field, helping to facilitate site restoring cornea transplants. So if you have that little heart on your driver's license, and that time comes where you end up passing away and you're able to help somebody, what we did is we took the clear front part of your eye and we would transplant that to somebody that maybe through trauma or eye degenerative eye diseases, we could help get them their vision back. And this isn't like pure blindness like blackness, but this was like looking through a sheet of wax paper essentially.
Yeah.
um, but but that was it was a very fulfilling job knowing that you're helping somebody's life be transformed for the better. But every single one of those cases was also made possible by death, and it was a very fulfilling thing knowing that you're making a difference. But it was tough being a part of death on a daily basis.
Sure.
Which is also another reason that I really took up hunting, just absolutely hardcore. Every minute that I could get outdoors, I was doing it because it taught me to live and not focus in on on that end death and dying part. But when the opportunity came up to carry my communication skills over to the NWTF, when they had an opening, I took the opportunity because it was something too that I was passionate about, but and I could still make a difference, but I wasn't dealing with some of that mental stress, but still getting to make a difference now for my kids and everybody else who enjoys the outdoors. So again, it's it circumstances, things lining up right, openings at the right time in my life, and just thankful to be a part of an organization that has great people and a great mission and doing great work for turkey hunters and beyond.
Well, it's amazing the serendipity that kind of occurs, and the openings of doors when they need to. It sounds like you had a very meaningful job, and then now another one. And kind of for those who maybe are, maybe you've heard about NWTF, but maybe not fully understanding of all the different functions and the different goals and objectives there. I kind of wanted to lay it down. You guys obviously had your 50th anniversary. You've been around since 1973 as an organization and have done so much. I mean, we've seen the numbers of turkeys and across the states, skyrocket compared to where they used to be at a certain time. And, I think a lot of folks don't know how that transition came to be. So maybe if we can talk a little bit historically about NWTF, and then we'll kind of maybe, bridge that gap on what's going on now and some of the initiatives and focus and all the different things you guys have planned here, maybe for the year in store. But if you can maybe kind of give a little bit of historical perspective, when did this form? Why did it form? What was the goal when it first started out?
Yeah, I'll do my best to do 10,000 foot view. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff in a
Sure,
50-year
sure.
history. But man by the name of Tom Rodgers, back in '73, um, he was somebody that I just refer to that generation as hunter conservationists. And it probably extends across to anybody that hunts. You're the baseline of conservation as well. There's always things we can do that to take it to the next level. But
Sure.
he was somebody that wanted to help make sure they were turkeys in perpetuity. And met with a group of other dedicated turkey hunters, turkey callers down here in South Carolina. NWTF was originally chartered in Roanoke, Virginia. Later that year in '73, moved down here. But it was formed as a nonprofit research entity to try to help with turkeys. And back in '73, there was approximately, I think, 1.25 million turkeys. Now numbers, even though there's some declines in certain areas, you're still looking at populations over 6 million. Um, but but primarily when we started, it was to try to help bridge the gap, and help facilitate a lot of the trap and transfer work that was going on, gather together information, um, between the states. That's why we established the NWTF technical. It's the Turkey Technical Committee, and that's got state agency reps from all the different agencies. But our mission is the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage, and that makes us unique in that conservation wildlife space, in that we have um, that twofold mission, to where we're not just trying to make sure that there are the wildlife or the numbers on the landscape, but we're trying to make sure that we're also helping to foster the growth of the sportsman's ranks, because it, despite whatever anybody says, we're going to need that in the long run at the ballot boxes. We're going to need the people, and now we need the right people. We need the people that are going to be good stewards of the resource. We need the people that are going to, help showcase what we do in the right manner. And I think that's a very important part. But hunting, while the total numbers of hunters may be staying around the same, and I think that's something that's up for discussion, amongst the hunting community. The percentage of the U.S. population that likes to hunt is going down, and that's the key part, that I think's been important. So if you go back to '73, started as a research organization. I can't remember exactly when the first research project was funded. Um, but after we kind of got to the point historically to where there were birds all across the landscape, and the trap and transfer, or the restoration era of turkeys was done, then it was all right. Well, now we've got to focus on the other aspects of maintaining numbers and trying to look at the conservation of habitats, because that's something that's dwindling at a rapid rate. We then had to look at also, how do we make sure that we're sharing this with other generations of people, sharing this with people that may be interested in it but don't know how to get into it, because even the number of people that are passing it on to their children is declining, as well, because of simple things of time and not having places to go. So it's conservation now, trying to make sure there's places for people to go, proper education. I mean, those are all key parts of what we're doing, and then also now, where we're looking at turkeys experiencing declines in portions of the country, we're right there again, pouring resources into trying to help figure out what's going on and how we can help make sure that these pursuits that we enjoy across 49 states continues.
No, well said, man. I was thinking about that when I was kind of looking through, different information. I had been aware of your organization, but whenever Jesse Griffiths put out the Turkey book, there was a combination where you can buy the book and you can get an annual membership with NWTF. And so I went ahead and did that bundle and started getting in the magazines. There's a lot of information that is given to the members, and I mean the membership is fairly cheap to get involved. And really, I think there's so many wonderful things you guys do, initiatives state by state. There's state chapters people can join. And you're working, like you said, alongside USDA, NRCS agents and different types of programs. And there's some incentivization there for private landowners too to kind of do some projects as well. And there's just a myriad of resources that are available for you to learn more about turkeys and the things you guys are doing. And, I was thinking about as far as maybe, talking to people about some of the benefits of membership and why you should join and maybe where those dollars are kind of going in some of the projects that you guys kind of got going on this year in the calendar year 2024. So if you can maybe address a little bit of that and kind of, because I want to make sure everyone understands, hey, this is a really great organization to be a part of. How can you join it? What can your dollars go to help? And, kind of maybe set that stage a little bit if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I think for people that are turkey hunters, I think the numbers of turkey hunters still are above 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when we look at the membership of the NWTF, I think it's currently sits at right around 230,000 adult members. That's a very small percentage of the people that turkey hunt. They're putting their money towards helping to make sure that that resource is going to be around for years to come. I mean, somebody once asked me, they said, what are the things that a turkey hunter can do? And I think the minimum, obviously, is you keep buying your licenses because that helps fund state level efforts. If you're buying ammunition, you're buying guns, the PR dollars go to help. But the next level is, if you join a conservation organization like the NWTF, $35 up front, that gets you a year membership. You get a $25 Bass Pro card. Or there's other incentives that they run throughout the year,
Mm-hmm.
pocket knives, whatever else it might be, different pieces of swag. But it's $35, which is less than a box of TSS for things. And then what we're able to do with that is we're able to leverage that 88 cents on the dollar to go back to mission related activities. And then when we're putting mission work on the ground, through conservation efforts, partnering it with research dollars to carry out projects. Most of the time, it's at a rate of around 10 to 1. So we're taking that 88 cents and then bringing in 10 times that amount to try to help make sure that we're being good stewards of people's money. And there's a lot of different things that are going on across the board using member dollars. There's even things that are going on across the board through grant funding and things like that aren't with member dollars. So member dollars aren't even assisting there. But it's right now, I think if you're a turkey hunter, especially in certain parts of the country, whether it's that central corridor like Nebraska, South Dakota down to Texas, or you're in the Southeast, some of the bigger things that people are worried about are declines. And so the biggest thing that we have going on, I think, right now, as far as top of mind for people, is that we've been involved with our annual RFP, or request for proposals for wild turkey research. This is our third year that we announced that. Over the past 2 years, combined with money that's also come from state levels, it's been more than 1.2 million going to research projects. And I want to say it's north of 20 individual projects with around 30 different research entities that are carrying out all kinds of different projects and these are projects that are approved most of the time through that Turkey Technical Committee. So the state agencies are even saying they're evaluating these projects and saying, hey, these are things that are worthwhile because we know that they'll help us with some of the things we have going on. But we're in our third year of that. And again, that's 1.2 million leveraged to more than 12 million with partner funding to try to get to the bottom of what's going on. I don't know what the funding will be like this year, but I think that we're trying to keep that foot on the gas, knowing that time is of the essence right now. So if it's something where you're a turkey hunter and research is important to you, well, get your membership, put your $35 in, and let us be good stewards of that to try to help leverage that towards additional things. Secondary, obviously, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the research aspect, is we've started to try to return things from a management or a conservation perspective to how do we look at things from a landscape level perspective, and it's getting people to try to think beyond, like, hey, I don't have turkeys in my own backyard, so like worry about this one field kind of thing, and trying to get people to look at what can we do across an entire landscape that'll benefit everybody? And that kind of harkens back to the days of trap and transfer, where there were places that didn't have turkeys and places that had turkeys said, hey, go ahead and box up some of these birds from our backyard and go put them there because we want turkeys to be able to be in as many places as possible. And it was people thinking about the greater good of the entire resource. So we're kind of looking at that right now. We have a number of different initiatives. The two big ones right now are Habitat for the Hatch, which is across an 18 state region in the Southeast, I think. And I always forget that exact number because there's so many different numbers I have to try to remember.
Sure. Yeah.
But the idea really is that on top of the current work that we're already doing for conservation, we want to try to impact an additional 1 million acres of nesting and brood habitat and make sure that they're in close proximity to each other. Because one of the biggest things that's facing turkeys these days is segmentation of land and available use of space. So if we can make sure that they have nesting and brood habitat that are close proximity and that's a little bit more abundant. So we're trying to put down an additional 1 million acres across that region. And you have state chapters within the NWTF that are saying, hey, funds that have been raised at the local level here at our own banquets in our own state, we're going to put towards this national initiative because we know that this is going to help birds across the landscape. The other one that we have that's been fairly successful so far is called Waterways for Wildlife, and it runs that central corridor. And what we're doing there is it's waters or I hate using the word riparian, but it's streams, rivers, and stream corridors and the health of those ecosystems. So for turkeys in those regions, they need cottonwoods, they need proper roost trees. So we're taking care of invasives, we're trying to maintain stream health. Clean water is something that's important to everybody, whether you're a turkey hunter or not. So that's having that benefit, and that we do try to use that as kind of a filter. Of turkeys have to be a part of the project. We're not just going to go out and say, hey, we need to make camping sites all over the place because that's for outdoor enjoyment. But we want to do conservation work that's beneficial to turkeys, and just because turkeys require a lot of the same things as other species, the work that we're doing is having far-reaching benefits, which is kind of a neat thing. Those are some of the big things that we have going on beyond the member dollars. I think it's neat just to know that the work that the NWTF does through the education and outreach programs and hosting events for kids, hosting families getting to learn about hunting together. I think for a long time it was kind of interesting. We'd go set up these BB gun ranges all over the place, and that's a neat thing. I mean, a kid getting a BB gun in their hand can be life changing as long as mom and dad are cool with it.
Yep.
But if you get kids involved in something and their parents don't know how to support them from then on out, you don't really have that continuity, or you can't really help that kid foster that all the way to adulthood. So, we've got programs that are going on trying to introduce entire families to hunting and also get them involved with other families through some of these events to where they're going through it at the same time. They're able to build a cohort. They're able to now meet people that are also interested in it. And then they get the chance to go do it with other people after events are done. And sometimes these events are carrying them through an entire year of education, which again, you can't, in my personal opinion, it's not NWTF's opinion.
Yep.
But I think it takes far more than just one. Hey, here's a hunter education class. We taught you about a turkey. Go out and shoot it, and you're now a turkey hunter. It's there's a lot more to it, and I think that taking those extra steps through some of these programs that are going on to fully immerse people is really what's needed. Because again, we want responsible turkey hunters. We don't want just everybody going out there and taking to the landscape, with firearms and and doing everything. We want people that we feel like have been able to learn what it means to be a responsible hunter.
Well, and then you also have different types of strategies, tips and tricks and things you can just kind of learn that if you are coming into being a turkey hunter, I mean, I can speak for myself here. I probably killed about 12 turkeys before I ever went on my first turkey hunt. I would just see them on the ranch, should be opportunistic, and it would just be pull up, take a shot. And, I loved the aspect of eating wild turkey and seeing them around their landscape. And then later on, as I kind of developed and fostered a little bit more of an importance to try to build a better habitat on my ranch for or ranches for different, animals and species, all the natives, right? Because we're trying to get rid of a lot of the brush that's not native in the trees, so that we're kind of, focusing more on, the different type of grasses and forbs and native trees there, which benefit all wildlife. But I started kind of getting into then turkey hunting and, researching as much as I could about different calls, different techniques, what I need to know. And obviously, I'm still surprised, by the Kings of Spring every single year of different things that, all the different stories that I'd read, Colonel Tom and different things like, man, this is wild stories. And I'm like, oh, this is absolutely true. Boy, the lessons you can learn in the woods, but it can be intimidating for somebody who maybe was, raised as, a deer hunter or, even, just being a fisherman or woman and then kind of getting into the turkey. So for those folks I think it's super beneficial to hear from people that can mentor, help teach them and kind of guide them throughout the process and kind of help them out so that they might be a little bit more equipped and be more successful in the woods. It's as soon as you have that first turkey, the first one you call in, man, I can't tell you anybody who's done that who has stepped away from turkey hunting. It's something that is with you forever. There is an excitement of hearing them. When they're doing their drumming and they're spitting near you, it is something that just gets hair up, and there's something kind of, you know, very, primal about that that I just connect with. And so I love that you guys have these different programs and initiatives to kind of get people in there and teach them and not just be a one-off, turn around and they're off after an hour or 2 hours. You guys have some great programs. And similarly, you guys have had a lot of success with, your annual conference that you guys have going on and meeting. You got a lot of really cool things happening. You've done a lot of things with musicians to kind of bridge a gap too of hunting and being out there. And I just wanted to have you maybe talk about that as far as, when is the annual, gathering? I mean, I know it's in Nashville every year, but if you can talk about the one, I know you guys just had one in February and you got another
Sure.
one coming up next year. So maybe just give a little highlights on, this last one. What are some of the things that, you enjoyed from that one? And kind of maybe talk about the attendance, who all was there, what all happened. And then, it's a little flash forward. I know it's a little ways down the road now, but, it's never too early to talk about stuff and make plans for 2025 and getting everyone in there. So if you want to go ahead and chat to that for a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to touch on something you said real quick, though. You
Yeah.
said you don't know anybody that's walked away once they've heard all that spitting, drumming, gobbling. I would venture to guess that if anybody has been forced to walk away, there's got to be an empty hole or something like that. I mean, like I don't I don't know if I could walk away and just be like, man, I'll forget about doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
um, but you're right. You're right. Talking about convention, I cannot state this enough, but the one of the greatest things about the NWTF is the people. It's the volunteers, the members, that really do make this organization. They're the lifeblood. They're the people that are on the ground carrying out our education and outreach events. They're the people that are putting together the fundraising banquets to make the dollars possible for all the conservation work and things like that. Um, and so our annual conference or our annual convention and sports show in Nashville is the opportunity to recognize these people and thank them for their accomplishments, thank them for the work that they're doing for the wild turkey. Because if it wasn't for them, then my job wouldn't be possible. I'm only here to try to help tell the stories and about their successes, and to try to use their eagerness and their passion for this to recruit more people to join these ranks of volunteers and members. So for me, Nashville is special, because it's the time where I get to see a lot of the folks that are really instrumental across their states. The people that are hosting these big events, the people that are making a difference. And it gives me a chance to even just shake their hand and say thank you. But it's kind of a twofold event. There's the convention, which is all of your events that happen upstairs. And I don't know if you've ever been, but we have this big event at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. I think there was north of 73,000 people there this past year, and that's between Wednesday and Sunday morning. Wednesday being an early bird event, Sunday being a quick religious service before people head on out. But it's 3 days of a consumer trade show where you get to see all your favorite outdoor vendors on the floor, and then it's that convention side, which is that's where we have the recognition of the volunteers. We have some entertainment, musical guests. We have seminars. We have I mean, you name it. The custom call making competition, the calling competition where you hear guys out there on a stage that they probably have feathers growing out of them.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I mean there's really a lot to do there, but at its heart, it's a celebration of our people and also a way to build anticipation for the dawning of spring, which I mean when we have it in February, when we get done and we wrap on Sunday, I mean you're just a few short weeks away from Florida opening in the South Zone and I mean people leave there eager for spring and eager for turkey season. Um, so it's a pretty fun event. I think this coming year, dates are set for I want to say it's around February 12th to the 16th.
Hmm.
Room block is already open, so if you want to stay on site at the Gaylord Opryland, which means all you have to do is just walk to everything. Get your ticket, get or not your tickets, get your rooms now. And in that way you're just right there under one roof for the entire event. You don't ever even have to leave. Just
Yeah.
live in the biodome for those few days.
Yeah, why would you leave with all that?
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun, man. Well, I know, and I saw some links there on the website there. So when we give that link in a little bit too, that's where you guys can go and sign up and kind of get ready for that. That's going to be an exciting event. Everyone I've talked to, and there's people who I know who've gone that aren't even like turkey isn't their main fascination, but they have so much fun at the convention and just have a blast. They said it's one of the best ones out there. So I'm eager to get out there myself.
It almost always straddles Valentine's Day,
Yep.
so it's a nice getaway. You go book a dinner at Old Hickory, which is the steakhouse there in Gaylord. They do chocolate covered strawberries and stuff. I'm never in there, but I've walked past it and seen the displays, but there you go. You make
See,
a family trip out, and there's a lot of people that do that. It's
yeah, no, I mean,
they make
72,
a
73,000. There's a lot of folks who come through there. Absolutely. It's huge.
and they it's for some of them it's a big family vacation
Yeah.
because that's the atmosphere that NWTF speaks to. It's a family gathering. It's that family fellowship, and it's a great thing to be a part of. So
Oh, absolutely. And the kids getting in there, man, going into the trade shows and getting to see everything and put your hands on things. There's always fun games. I mean, there's something always for everyone, but I think having the kids get that kind of excitement too is a really important thing, especially if you're going to be bringing them out into the woods. So it's a great introduction into that kind of segue of getting them out there. Just changing directions just for a second. I wanted to talk to you about have you gone and had your own personal slam? Have you hunted turkeys all across the U.S.? Is there a goal of yours of maybe where you want to go next? And then I wanted to also chat about the cuisine side of things and ask you about, what is some of your favorite dishes? So if you can go ahead and maybe, jump into those two, and we'll kind of catch up after that.
yeah, I through some of the people that I've met through the organization, I've been fortunate to get to hunt a couple places. I have been able to get a grand slam. Um, I I think at some point in my life, probably just because of the people that I've met, I could probably, if I put my mind to it, check off with the US Super Slam. That's all 49 states. But I would say that's not as high priority. If anything, for me, what I've found is that I've found places that I like going back to year after year because for me it's just as much about the turkeys and waking up and hearing them on the roost and calling them in and all the interactions and the busted hunts and and all the laughs that I get from it. But it's the people
Yeah.
and spending time in the woods. Like this past spring, I spent time with a buddy of mine, Darren Jones, down in Texas. We were down in San Antonio, and he and I have been in the same camp. We actually both got our Grand Slams together in Florida a number of years back, but every day that we hunted together, we never got we never had birds come in to where we could end up harvesting one. Even one morning when we were there in Florida, we had a bald eagle swoop down as four gobblers are coming across the field. Bald eagle lands in the middle, and all the gobblers turn and go run back and circle this bald eagle and start gobbling in his face. And we're like, well, we're probably some of the only people to ever be busted by a bald eagle. But
America.
yeah. But we had never killed birds together. So I flew in. I think it was on a Monday night, and we hunted Tuesday, Wednesday. I flew out Wednesday on the red eye at like 11 o'clock, and in those 2 days of hunting, um, even though I was his guest, I said, "Hey, Darren," I was like, when last time we were together, you actually helped call in a bird for me. We were fortunate the last time that I was there in Texas. So this time, he and I called together and we called in a bird, and it was one of his personal best. And then the next day, we were lucky enough to double up together, and we had never, out of all the times we had hunted, we had only ever killed the one bird that I had gotten hunting together. So it's fun things like that. I will probably always try to return to Texas. For me, I told you about, loving the Black Hills a bunch. Every time that I get the opportunity to go to Wyoming, I go back. It's for me, it's just the place. It's um, it's the people. It's the memories for me. I mean, that was, I remember getting a single sided Primos box call, not knowing how to do anything, stomping all over creation on public land and bagging a bird. And for me, that was a life changing thing. And so I go back there. I guess maybe one day, if I'm lucky enough to do it, maybe I'll try to complete a Royal Slam, go after the Gould's turkey or something like that. But for me, if I only had to choose a couple, I'd always go to places where I get to spend times with good friends and uh and hopefully bag a bird, or somebody on the team of people that are hitting the woods bags bird. That means more than any certificates on the wall or things like that.
Well,
So
that's there's something that I feel whenever I've helped call in a bird for my friend. I feel just as much of a win as if I bagged him myself, because there is some
absolutely.
like it is the camaraderie around turkey camp is just different, man. And then I I I think being able to witness that, I was up close to my buddy Matthew Mitchell, and he called in one, and just to kind of get to see it, and I ended up doing some filming of it, was just so remarkable, and it was so exciting because we had had some other times where we kind of just again circumstantially see them and go after them, and I've heard people use the term bushwhack or whatever, but it's like we just kind of snuck in and got in a shot, but being able to communicate and get them in and hearing them call back and forth, and then coming in and kind of getting prepared and not knowing when they're going to be there, boom, all of a sudden they're there. Man, there was the excitement of that and sharing that with friends and be able to recant those stories later on over a cold one or a cigar, whatever it may be. Man, it is just, it's second to none for me. I got hooked that first time, and now I'd venture to say, even though I've been, I think in the deer, hunting world for almost 40 years, the turkeys are probably my favorite thing to go after. And, it's as soon as spring's over, I can't wait for spring to be there again just for that. And all the amazing meals. So let's turn back to that real quick. What are some of the, hey, you got a turkey on the ground, you're back at camp, and you're going ahead and butchering it out. What are some of the first meals that you're looking forward to cooking for you and your friends and family?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. Um, so one of the things, a buddy of mine who's a wild game chef, Jeremiah, he and I um came up with this saying a few years ago, but it was think outside the popper, kind of ripping off Taco Bell a little bit, think outside the bun. But it's like, um, I don't get me wrong, I love bacon, cream cheese, and jalapenos, but there's so much more versatile stuff that you can do with something like the wild turkey. So the biggest thing that I start thinking about right up front is I'm going to try to use as much of this bird as possible. So I take breasts and legs and thighs. Legs, thighs. Most of the time, I'll either slow cook them and I'll use them for like carnitas or pulled turkey, or what I've done a bunch of times, and you got to check for pellets so you don't break your grinder. But you can take all that meat and you can grind it, and then have turkey burger. I mean, it's fantastic, and then you use it just like you would, any venison. But I honestly can't think of anything that's like a one recipe. In the past couple days, just because I dabble in cooking. Yesterday, I made a spicy. It was spicy udon noodles with cubed wild turkey and homemade kimchi. The day before that, I used sliced wild turkey breast on a sandwich with some cheese that I bought when I was in Oregon recently. And it was just a turkey melt on marbled rye. Um, Goodness gracious. I mean, I'm always trying to figure out different ways to do things. And honestly, as long as you're not overcooking the meat,
Yep.
you treat it like you would regular turkey. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. Um, Still though, my kids brine it, pickle juice, bread it, throw it in the deep fryer. Uh, you know, Wild turkey fillet nuggets.
Hmm.
You get that. Um, but I think that's the biggest thing though I just try to do new stuff with to so I don't get burned out. But I mean there still are always the things to go back to. I still love the flavors of poppers. I made it was a jalapeno popper mac and cheese. So I used cream cheese and some cheddar from Beecher's cheese out there in Pacific Northwest. And then did some what was it? I can't remember what the noodles were. It might have been rotini. And then uh I mixed in bacon, jalapeno, and wild turkey, and then baked it in the oven when it was done, and it was absolutely fantastic. One time, just to see if I'd get a reaction out of people, I made a wild turkey sushi. So rolled it with jalapeno, bacon, and cream cheese. um, but it's fun, man. I mean, you get to the in my opinion, turkey hunting doesn't end with the pull of a trigger. That's the beginning of the next step, and everybody that gets to eat that turkey gets to then take part in the story because you get to talk about the hunt, you get to talk about what led up to this point, and I think that's one of the fun parts of it.
I completely agree, man. My buddy Matthew Mitchell and I were talking about, there's some people who say once you pull the trigger, the fun is done. I actually think it's the opposite. And he and I kind of run with that. It's like then you get to butcher it, think about all these amazing meals you can have with your friends and family, the retelling of those. That's the trophy experience for me, right? Like for any kind of animal, just having that, being able to utilize that and all the different meals, that's where it gets super
Oh
exciting,
yeah.
labeling stuff out, vac sealing that stuff, chamber vac, whatever it is, just saving those and like, oh man, I'm gonna eat that, I'm gonna do that. And you gave me some good ideas there too. When you mentioned Jeremiah, is that Dowdy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he's been on here as well too.
Very
He's
cool.
definitely got some great recipes. Shout out to him. Well,
Uh,
I think,
my kids love being a part of the butchering process and the
uh-huh,
vacuum sealing. I don't have any because they've all now learned how to spell and things like that. But some of the funniest vacuum sealed meals where we're like, first I've got a 13-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old daughter, and a 9-year-old son. But when my daughters would help, I mean, these packages of meat would have hearts on it and
sure,
all that
man.
kind of stuff, misspelled words. Yeah, I have round was just I, like the letter I, you know what? um so I mean it's just fun stuff. I
Oh,
enjoy it all.
it is, man, especially when you're getting your kids involved in that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, man. And just it's something too. It's another way for them to connect with that way of life, with getting out in the woods, and it doesn't just end there. A lot of folks, I was just chatting with Giannis Patelis about that idea too, about, how to bring your kids into the woods. And I think a lot of it too is like bringing them into the kitchen too and getting them involved with that and that kind of process. And, it's not going to be so, maybe intimidating whenever you can all the different steps. Hey, oh, here's what we're going to do with this. Like, oh, okay, cool. You're not just killing Bambi there, right? No, we're actually doing this. It's something that we've, for ever since the dawn of time, right? We've been, enjoying the meats of all these amazing wild games and it's something that we have to make sure that we also incorporate that idea of preserving this, legacy lifestyle, the conservation, all the things that are needed, and for like what you guys are doing with NWTF and promoting that and showing the benefits of being, all the different, healthy habitats, healthy hunts, all the different things that are going out there. I definitely applaud you guys for every single thing you're doing. I love seeing, venturing out and seeing what you guys are doing outside of Texas, right? Because obviously I have my own interest here and seeing, hey, what's happening in my state, but seeing what's happening all across the board and how beneficial it is to keep this sustainable for our future generations and the kids that we're talking about.
Hmm.
And speaking about kind of holding on to that kind of way of life and things, I always ask my guests about the idea of like legacy. And I was curious about, how you view, your personal legacy and, how you hope to always be remembered by what you're doing, but also with your time there too in the NWTF and, maybe in some of the other, organizations you've worked with previous, but kind of just curious to pick your brain on how you view that. What do you see as far as your legacy, both in a professional and a personal setting?
Ooh. I guess I'll go personal first.
Mhm.
Um, my personal belief is that the legacy that I live is that, or the legacy that I leave is, first and foremost, I just honestly want to raise my kids in a manner to where, um, I feel like they're doing whatever that they can, or that they look to me and they go, hey, if I live the way that my dad lived, then I'm doing what I need to do to get to heaven. That's my religious side.
Hmm.
um, from a from just a lifestyle type way. I think, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but um, there's a lot of experiences you can have in turkey hunting. It's, you can only ever kill your first turkey one time. Um, but I think that one of the legacies that I really want to live, and I think this is the way that you can get as close to killing your first turkey again and again, is being a part of the first turkey hunt for new individuals. Because of the camaraderie and because of the way that turkey hunting, it lends itself to it being almost a team activity, or a mentor student, is the more people that I share this love with, and that it sparks their fire. I want it to be something that I'm remembered as somebody who tried to help share that through taking people into the woods, through sharing the food that I love, and through sharing those experiences. I think that that's something else that's important to me. Um, I won't ever try to force my kids, or to try to take on hunting, but it's something that I darn sure am gonna foster that when they show that interest. But really, it's just somebody that's trying to leave it better for future generations. I mean, we want this to be around far longer than what I plan on being on this earth for. So
Yeah.
I think,
And
from a personal standpoint, that's kind of where I sit. Um,
yeah.
Organizationally, at the root of it, that mission, it's not changing. It's the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage. But I think when you think about things on a larger scale and what the legacy is, I really think what it boils down to, and we touched on this, is that the benefits of what the NWTF and its people do is so far reaching beyond just our treasured game bird. I mean, it's something that, depending on where you are in the country and the work that's being done, it's creating healthier ecosystems. It's helping with cleaner and more abundant water. It's helping to provide, in certain parts of the country, it's helping to provide, more resilient communities, to things like catastrophic wildfire. Doing work in the Rocky Mountains that helps the Merriam's wild turkey, or the other species that are out there, um, also is something that helps, reduce that risk of that catastrophic wildfire. And then it's something that the work that we're doing also just helps provide abundant outdoor recreation opportunities beyond turkey hunting. Um, and so I think that when we look at things, from an NWTF perspective, and the legacy, it's the work that's being done by this 230,000 people right now, and it's being made possible by them and the partners that we have. It's really something that is working to hopefully one day bring people together through the life-changing power of the outdoors. And I think anybody that's ever stepped foot outdoors, whether it's through turkey hunting, any of these outdoor pursuits, and I'll say especially turkey hunting, it's something that truly does change your life. And the work that we're doing is helping to make lives better for people, whether you live in a center city all the way out to rural communities. I think that's that pie in the sky legacy, is uniting people with this great thing that we have, and these great abilities that we have to enjoy the outdoors.
Well said, Pete. I love it. Kind of with folks who are now, if they've listened to this podcast, If they haven't already joined up with NWTF, I highly encourage them to do so. If you can kind of go ahead and go ahead and give the websites, the socials where they can go ahead and become a member, join and follow, and then also your own page too, so people can kind of watch, some of the things you got going on and your perspectives you'd like to share.
Sure. But first and foremost, website, easiest way to get the most amount of information about the conservation work that's going on. Join, renew, learn about events in your area. NWTF.org, starting point for everything, including the convention. We're on all the major social channels: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, X. I think they finally moved away from Twitter altogether now. So, but we're on all those places. If you search official NWTF or National Wild Turkey Federation, you'll find us there, and that's our way of trying to help share conservation mission delivery news across all those channels. For me personally, I have a tiny Instagram page called Fruits of the Wild that a buddy of mine created for me, and occasionally I'll post up pictures of food that I make. I'm terrible about actually posting the recipes on there. But if you shoot me a message, if it's something you follow and you shoot me a message, go, man, that looks good. Tell me how you did it. I will hopefully be able to remember most of the nuts and bolts because I don't ever write anything down.
So no cookbook is forthcoming
No,
in your future.
no, I have no desire to do a cookbook, but I will gladly buy everybody else's because the I love recipes. I'm a chubby kid, man. I love food, you know.
Yeah, yeah. What do they say? Never trust the skinny chef, right?
That's right. That is right, man.
Well, man, it's been a fun time today. I really appreciate you coming on, talking about all the wonderful things NWTF's got going on, and want to thank you for, your organization, all the things that you're putting together as far as, personally involvement here, and your passion definitely shines through. And you and your team, it is very, very apparent how much you guys love the turkeys and keeping this way of life there and sustained for future generations. It's a great organization. Everybody, make sure you're going to nwtf.org and becoming a member today. At $35, like you said, you get a $25 Bass Pro gift card or other swag throughout the year. I mean, you really can't beat that right then and there, too. It's just a no-brainer. But to be a part of this organization and to get these numbers, let's see if we can, instead of being at the 10%, let's get that to the 25, to the 30, to 50, and let's get every turkey hunter that's out there a part of this organization so we can go ahead and do bigger things. So, hey, once again, Pete, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll be in touch soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity to be on. And again, it wouldn't be possible without those NWTF members, volunteers, and partners. So thanks to them.
Cheers. You take care, man.